Did I have breakfast today?
What did you have? If you did.
I haven't been a breakfast person since like grade 7. Like,
really?
Yeah. Some people big breakfast, eggs, bacon, all that kind of jazz.
Mm-hmm.
I like as a kid, I didn't even do cereal at a certain point.
Wow.
My equivalent at the time was like Ovaltine, kind of like hot chocolate. And then I just evolved into coffee.
Coffee for breakfast?
Which is terrible. Like, it's so bad for you.
Yeah.
In like especially as the only thing.
Yeah.
In your
so
stomach.
Acidic,
Yeah, it's so acidic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, yeah, give me 2 black coffees in the morning and I'm good till noon. My assistants might disagree, and maybe my girlfriend. They'll be like, hey dude, you're cranky all the time. And I'll be like, what are you? I'm charming.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry all the time.
It's fine. It's intermittent fasting if you look at it that way.
I just can't. I can't do it. I can't eat right when I wake up. So
Fair enough, man. Maybe one day.
Yeah, and some days like
Mm-hmm.
I can't call it right, but some days it's just like you get the hanger.
Yeah, I'm a hangry person.
Yeah,
don't come near me when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Good thing I'm not hungry right now.
Okay.
Just kidding. Welcome back to The Creatives, everybody. This is episode 9. I'm joined today by Justin Van Leeuwen. Did I say that correctly?
In the Dutch way, probably close to. I don't
Cool.
say it correctly, so I'm very lenient when
Nice.
people pronounce my last name. I say Leeuwen,
Leeuwen,
which
okay.
is phonetically not how it is, but that's just kind of how my dad
Sweet.
did it, and my forebears brought this name to me, and that's how I do it.
Well, I'm joined today by Justin VL, aka JVL Photography. Justin is an Ottawa-based commercial photographer who has some really cool work, and I'm sure we're going to get into some really interesting stories today. Before we get into that, I want to say a big shout out to our sponsor, Midnight Hour Studios, which is where we're recording right now. Thank you so much for supporting the Creatives podcast and letting us kind of push through and get these episodes out to you. They have gracefully given us 25% off your first booking. You can book this exact place. And if you wanted, you could copy this exact set if you really, really, really enjoyed it. Use discount code TheCreatives when you go to make your first booking. You'll get 25% off. It's an awesome studio. It's right in the heart of Ottawa. There's a huge garage door so you can load in all your gear very easily. And also, thank you to Pano Media for powering the production tools for this production. And without further ado, we'll get into Justin Van Leeuwen.
Van Leeuwen? Yeah.
Van Leeuwen.
Say it. JVL.
Yeah, man. How you doing?
I'm all right, man.
Welcome to The Creatives.
There was a snowstorm outside. I don't know.
There is a snow.
Yeah.
There seems to be a snowstorm every time I record an episode. It's snowing.
I know. There was like nothing. It was like raining a couple days ago, and it's like nice, and then it's just like 5 feet of snow.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
That's Ottawa.
The entire city becomes a rally stage, and it's just great.
Okay. If you say so.
It's chaos.
It's beautiful, but
it's
beautiful.
Chaos.
Yeah.
It's so peaceful. The sound is dampened. But Justin, I'll tell you a little bit about The Creatives, why I'm doing it, and I'll tell you kind of the motivation. So I basically wanted to explore creativity. This is just like a project side hustle that I'm doing. I wanted to explore creative people who embody creativity in the forefront of their efforts, whether that be through their work, through their, mostly through like the things that they do. And I wanted to explore it, develop a community, give people kind of a platform to talk about what they do so that we can kind of connect and show how many awesome people there are in Ottawa.
Yeah.
So it's coming along pretty cool. We've had some interesting conversations. The last episode we recorded was with the owner of a vintage clothing store called Bad Dog Ottawa in the Glebe. So it was pretty interesting to chat with him and hear about his process. He brought in some like items for us to take a look at.
Yeah.
And there's a cool story behind. There's this one Harley Davidson shirt that he brought that some dude had, his girlfriend dumped him and all he had was his Harley Davidson and a backpack. And so he cross-country Canada on a Harley Davidson wearing this shirt in the 80s. And it wound up in Luke's store, and he brought it yesterday.
Like, you know that vintage clothing has a story to it, but you don't always get that story.
No, then he's keeping that piece. That one's not for sale.
Okay.
But it's cool, the stories.
Yeah.
So I've spoken with a couple of photographers, music producers, directors, just all sorts of people. And it's been interesting, and I'm happy here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And let's kick it off with Justin. What makes you a creative?
I always kind of like parsed on this concept. I even had this discussion at lunch today, but I'm accepting it. I'm accepting of praise. So first of all, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, you think I'm creative? Thank you. I work in a creative industry, I think is part of what it is, right? I've moved myself into photography, commercial photography specifically, which for me, or for people who don't know difference between photographies, is
the
that
various categories.
yeah, right. Like not all artists paint, right?
Yeah.
Not like every job has subcategories, right?
Okay.
So not all photographers take all pictures, right? Commercial photography is essentially B2B. It's business to business. I work with other businesses like my own, but theirs, to help create images and media that will help them display, show off their product selves or whatever in the best light, and to help promote that and hopefully help them sell it, because that's kind of the end game in business, right? We're kind of all in
Sell
sales
stuff.
there. Yeah. So it's and what makes me creative within that? Well, I think photography by default allows for a difference of approach,
Okay.
right? They're like not everything is going to be the same, right? Get 5 photographers in the same space, give them the same gear, they're going to end up with different photos, right? And that difference is a creative difference, right?
Yeah.
Different eyes, different interpretations, interpolations, different thought processes and expectations.
Yeah.
So that's what makes what I do creative. What makes me personally creative? I don't know. That probably goes way back. I don't know.
I want to go. I kind of want to go, but I want to know, like, that's interesting. I always enjoyed that kind of 5 photographers, same camera, same everything. They're all going to take a different photo because everyone perceives the world differently.
Yeah, like, I mean, you can go on Instagram, right? And you can type in like some sort of space or place. There's even an account I follow. My girlfriend put me onto it that basically like shows like the exact same thing, but like 20 different views of it. And while they're all similar, right? Like tonality, subject matter, whatever, they are still each one of them different.
Yeah.
Right. And that's pretty special.
It is.
Yeah. And so that's what I like about it. That's why also within photography, I love working with other photographers as a community, right? Because I'm not necessarily intimidated by my competition, right? While on paper, they might be a different business and we're up against the same stuff. End of day, we're different people producing different work.
Yeah.
Right. So being friends with other creatives in that exact same field doesn't always work out, but in that case for me it does, because oh well, that person's a good photographer too. They do a different thing. Somebody chose them. That's fine. Good for them.
It's
right?
business, and it's good to collaborate, even though they're competition.
Yeah, you give the shrug off like, oh, it's business, but you know what? The more I do this, nah, man, it's personal. It's like my business is personal.
Yeah, maybe
like,
the situation.
Like, that's a great way to shrug off responsibility for making like some harsh decisions.
It's business.
It's business. You know
Yeah.
how business is. What, cold, calculating, and inhumane? No, I'm not okay with that.
Okay.
I'm going to run an ethical business. Thank you very much.
Fair
so
enough.
yeah.
So your name of your business is JVL Photography.
Yeah, that's not very creative because it's my initials plus photography. So
Hey, it's okay. It's a word. It's a name. It's an identifier. So how long have you been doing it? First of all.
So professionally, I guess this is my 12th year.
Nice.
Like full time.
Awesome.
Before that, I got a camera when I was 27. So that's going to be 14 years or so now.
Okay.
Wait, maybe a little earlier than that. I don't
Yeah.
know. Anyway, in that range, right?
Yeah.
COVID also has like messed with time. Like it's a time warp, right?
perception.
Like 2-3 years has disappeared.
For sure.
So I started with digital as a guy that I worked with around creatives my entire life. I worked in a comic book store for like years, right? So like artists, people who could draw, people who could write, always producing this kind of stuff. And I had no great tactile ability, right? I'm not good with my hands in that way. I don't draw well. I don't write well. I can't play instruments well, although I've attempted all of them. None of them are I'm not enthused by it.
Right.
And at the same time, like, I guess, could you get good at it? Maybe, if you put in the time, but it never drew me in to put in my 10,000 hours kind of thing, right? Like I wasn't innately good with it, and I didn't have the patience to put in the time for it. But somewhere in my mid-20s, I got a digital camera, and something about that worked for me. The ability to just take photos, bad photos, like objectively bad photos.
Yeah.
I think everybody, like, just, you know,
You got to start.
you got to start.
They're going to suck at the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't, then good for you, but I sucked at the beginning. And
If you don't suck at the beginning,
if
you're,
you don't suck at the
you're a
beginning,
liar.
well, I
No,
don't know,
maybe
like,
not.
I'm like envious again, but
Yeah.
that's great. You know, maybe you'll suck at something else,
Yeah.
just to even things out. And, yeah, I just started shooting, and like, this is, you know, what, 2005, so it's early for digital photography from a DSLR standpoint, like as opposed to like point and shoots. Cell phones aren't out, right? Or cell phones are out, but not smartphones, right? The iPhone isn't out yet.
And it wasn't like cool to be a content creator. It wasn't
That
like
didn't exist.
It wasn't like a mainstream.
Well, the only social media was really Facebook and MySpace,
Yeah.
right? And Facebook was still like invite only back then.
There's no like corporate or business interest in those platforms, really, was there?
No. So I was not pursuing it in any grander sense.
Okay.
I was I believe like the root term for amateur is like for the passion or for the love of it. Like somebody please look that up, make a comment, and
Yeah, what amateur?
what does amateur actually mean?
Okay.
But like it comes from the root, I think, amour, love, right? And I think it's
Love.
beautiful,
Oh,
right?
that's
So some people use amateur as like a derogatory term, like, oh, he's an amateur photographer. I'm like, no, man, that guy's doing it for the love of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing it because I like it too, but I need to do it now. Like, this pays the bills,
Yeah.
right? So like, it's just business, you know? So
There it is.
yeah,
It's
drop
just
it.
business.
So I was an amateur photographer, and I was doing it because it was giving me a creative outlet that I had never had before. And part of that creative outlet was taking the photos, but part of them was also like taking bad photos and then doing bad Photoshop on those photos. I could do things.
But
to change
starting
it.
the process,
But
yeah.
it was fun for me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that process. And I enjoyed sharing it too, because without the regular platforms that we have now, there were some very rudimentary blogging platforms. And I got started up with that with a few other friends, because they all had DSLRs at the same time, digital single lens reflex cameras. And so it's great to have like right away I had this little tight community of like-minded people that were not professionals. They weren't, you know, you need to do this or that, or, you know, charge for this or that or whatever. It's just like, oh, you took this photo, and then I'll be like, how do you edit that photo? And they'll show me how to edit that photo. And it was really just this free, open back and forth. And so, you know, you have some early photo bloggers like Daily Dose of Imagery. This is like one of the first guys to do a daily photo blog, right? We're so used to that now.
Yeah.
From like Instagram, like if you don't post every day, you feel like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
But like posting every day is a big deal.
Huge.
It's a lot of work. And especially when you don't have the platform for it, like you're making your own website to post a photo every day. And so there was a pretty tight daily photo blog community out there.
Was this Ottawa based?
No, so I'm from Toronto,
Okay,
actually, originally.
cool.
Not that it was Toronto based either. It's just that that's where I was.
That's
That's
where
where
you
a
were
couple of
at
my
the
friends
time?
were. Yeah, and that's where Daily Dose of Imagery was, although he was well known and respected kind of worldwide. And I've met other people that I'm friends with online who I've never met in person that I'm still friends with from starting photography like 15 years ago. Frisky Geek, Basil, did I get his name wrong? Basil? Oh shit. Anyway,
Shout out to them if they're
yeah,
watching.
Frisky Geek. And like I talk to this guy every day. Like we talk about books we've read and stuff like that. But like it started off as just like another guy with a photo blog.
Yeah.
Back then, just because there's nobody's doing it,
Yeah, exactly.
right? But because nobody's doing it, you're not comparing yourself to others. Like that like.
So it kept it fun in a way?
Yeah, because like even if somebody's like, you know, objectively better than you, it's not competitive that way. Right. So it was really just a free space for me to learn and grow.
Okay.
And the kind of daily photo blog idea, I didn't realize it at the time, but you're putting in the work.
Yeah.
Right.
It's training. It's like you're in the trenches. You're just grinding
you're hammering away
every
at
day.
it. And especially since I didn't go to school, right? So
For anything or just for photography?
nothing. I barely passed high school,
Yeah.
man. I consider my 6 months at U of T as a great tax write-off, and that was about it for me.
Great tax.
Yeah. It was just really great. I could claim that whole amount. Yeah. So. Yeah, sorry, I'm just jogging on here, but
No, it's fine. I'm curious to know like kind of the backstory.
yeah, like that. That's the root of it, right?
Yeah. So the daily photo blog
So
is
the
what
daily
kinda-
photo blog really
Was that every day you take a photo? Was that the challenge
yeah,
and the point of it?
Yeah, and if you're not taking a photo, you're at least drawing from a bank of photos. You're finding something worthwhile. You're potentially editing it, right? You're putting some work into it to make it something palatable, or for yourself essentially. But then you get a little competitive. You want other people to like your photos, although there's no mechanism for that.
What platform was it? Was it a forum or something?
Pixel Post was what it was called.
Okay.
I don't
Never even heard of it.
Exactly.
Was it like a forum type?
You were probably a baby.
In 2005, I was 8 years old.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. So no, you didn't hear about it, right? It's kind of like your WordPress stamp, right? It's just a skin that gives you this formula to be able to just put up a website, FTP, and a little bit of framework in the back end to do it. It was free. Because there wasn't Instagram, right? Was there an airplane?
Yeah, there's an airplane. It's a direct flight path, actually.
I like it.
It's cool.
It makes me feel like I'm about to hop on one.
Yeah.
We're going to go somewhere exotic after this.
Pretty much in like LA where there's like 30 planes landing an hour.
Yeah.
Maybe
we
more.
can say that we are, right? You can just get that soundbite. So like that's the root of both, like, working with creatives and not being able to have an output, and then finding something finally in sort of this technical creative output, so that, like, as a guy who just like fiddling with computers, again, I'm not a programmer, I'm not like good at that stuff, but I have the patience for it.
Yeah. And you enjoyed like operating this equipment?
Yeah. So a bit of a gearhead, right? A little like patience pays off, and I had patience for tech, I guess. I still do. So kind of getting into it, figuring out how it worked, hammering away at it again and again and again every day for years. Right.
And this was still at an amateur hobbyist level. It was not. No one's giving you money to do this.
No, and I mean, nobody just gives you money.
Right.
Like I don't walk down the street with a camera and people are like, whoosh. Like, if
Seriously?
anything, you know what? The more I've been doing this, the less that happens. It's almost like it was better back. Like, the good old days when I'd walk down Yonge Street and people would throw money at me, because you have this unique thing called a camera that they don't have, and producing digital images is costly at the time because nobody has the instant access that we do now. So image making, I didn't know this because I wasn't doing it in that capacity, but image making was more expensive. Absolutely. It was more expensive in film, right? Like the cost of the barrier for entry of film photography was very high.
Were you doing film photography?
No.
Or you were doing digital?
Only ever digital.
Only digital.
Yeah,
okay.
and people, like, because of my age, just assume that I did but I didn't start
because they thought you started earlier.
Yeah. Exactly.
Was there any sort of like glimpse of foreshadow of this in your childhood, of cameras, of technical stuff?
It was background stuff. Like, my mom had like a film SLR camera, but she didn't pull it out much. Like, it's a nice camera, but couldn't tell you what it is right now.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't handle it. And while I had a film point and shoot because there was no digital.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the only way to capture memories.
Yeah.
Right?
So, like,
Walmart, like Kodak Gold.
Not disposable, but still,
Step
like,
up.
you take it to an app, like you go out with your friends on a Friday, you take photos, or you have people over.
I remember going on like field trips and like getting one of those cameras to take.
Sure, and then you get
me.
it developed, and then you get the photos after, right? So it's like roll 24, 36, whatever, and then you get them back in an hour, in a day or 2 days, right? And that's just kind of the way it rolled. And that's pretty instant, but by no means was that. For me, I see it completely different. That's incidental. That's the equivalent of a cell phone.
Yeah,
right?
You didn't really think much of it at the time. It was just...
No, I'm just documenting stuff with my friends.
Right.
And what I do with my camera professionally and what I take photos of with my phone outside of that are still very different.
Like now, like today?
Sure, yeah. Like, I mean, I'll take a picture of an object I have, and it's not a good photo, but I'm documenting something, or like a stupid photo of my friend. Yeah. But I'm not like putting a lot of thought into it. Right, those are separate use cases of photography. For me.
Absolutely.
Not all photos are created equal, even within the same person doing it. Right. Sometimes the assumption is that, like, Justin, he's going to take
a great photo. That's literally like at family events. Oh, give him the camera. He's gonna.
Yeah, they can fuck off.
You're a photographer. I'm like, yeah, but I want to be in the photo.
So yeah, and actually, what you're saying right there is how and I'm sure so many people actually get into doing it for work. Now, I think there's a lot of friction in that because there's an expectation that since you have a camera, you're going to give it to them. But if you're any sort of minded person, you're going to realize that the friction point is that you have this output that you have spent money on something,
Right.
using it as wear and tear on that thing, and you're doing it for somebody else. I don't care who it is, right? If it's a favor, that's a choice you make, not one that they make. And if somebody else is making that choice for you, then they can pay you for that.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's $10, $100, $1,000, but it needs to, your time and contribution needs to be valued, especially today. Everything's so expensive.
I didn't understand that when I first started. I didn't associate any value with photography because I was doing it for fun at first.
Sure.
And then I was like, I didn't put value on it. And I was just doing stuff and I was getting, it's hilarious, like the rates I was charging, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And I didn't associate a value with it. And as time went on, it was one of those things I actually struggled with, was associating a value with the work that I do with cameras. Because I like enjoyed it and it was fun. So I'm like, this isn't worth money. I'm having fun, but
Yeah.
I understand it a lot more now.
I mean, isn't that the ideal, that you can have fun and make money at the same time?
It is, yeah.
How have we been brainwashed into thinking that somehow something we enjoy is not valuable to us, even if it is to somebody else? Right? People look to take advantage of that all the time. And again, you can make up your own mind about what things are worth to you, whether it's worth it to you as a favor, as a trade, as right? Like you and I, anybody that isn't basically a billionaire, we're not capitalists. We're just working on a barter system. Sometimes that barter is cash, sometimes it's services, right? For the CRA, it's always cash and documented. No, not cash. It's debited into my bank account.
They're watching.
Yeah, oh, they know. I run a very tight ship. So like, pay your taxes. That is
Absolutely
rule number one in business. But
yeah, we'll get into that
I'm
in a sec.
getting ahead of myself.
It's okay. I love it.
So what happens is that I'm walking around with a camera all the time, and people are starting to ask me to take photos for things that I wouldn't otherwise take photos of.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty quick to recognize, not that I'm good at it, because I'm not sure I am. That's actually not the point. It really isn't. You can be not good at something, and your time and efforts are still important if you're being asked to do something.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't have to feel it within you. It just has to be true. Right.
Exactly.
So, at the time I was working at a hospital, and so my boss was like, "Oh, we need you to take pictures of a check presentation and stuff like this," and I was like, "Yeah, all right," but it's kind of like, I know I'm at work, but my camera's not part of work, so can I get paid for the photo? And they're like, "Yeah, sure." Like, of course, they would have hired a photographer anyway, but I was there.
Right.
So that was my real start.
So your first time receiving money to use your camera?
Yeah,
That's
correct.
cool. Yeah.
But I guess I was quick to recognize that. I came up in a home, a self-employed family, like home
Interesting.
home business kind of thing.
So you're always around that kind of, like, what it was like to
that
run your own ship.
Little scrappy like everything has like a dollar thing to it. And I had always been kind of deriving some money from something I did in the background.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, I'd buy comic books for 10 cents and sell them for $0.25. Like,
so you had the
something.
mindset of transacting and flipping and making money, like, completely by your own doing, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Which is cool.
In which case, like for me, my entire family, I think, earning money through labor is basically the only way we really knew how to. We're not high flying investment people. Nobody ever made like a big paycheck.
Right.
But if you're not selling something, you're selling your labor, right? And if your time is always worth something.
Absolutely.
Right. So I'm a big proponent of making sure that people bill accordingly for everything, because it's transactional. Like we live in. I didn't choose the society I live in, but we don't have a lot of options.
No.
Like, I'm not moving to Russia or China, right? Those are your communist states right now, in theory.
Yeah.
So
you work with the society you live in.
Yeah,
and it's a capitalist society.
I think we've said we're past capitalism now, and we're post-capitalist feudalistic.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, feudalism is a bunch of serfs, all the little people working upwards towards your regal fiduciary top end, your billionaires, your 1%, right?
Okay.
And everybody else is just fighting each other for the scraps.
So that's, you and I are working.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't had a look at your bank account, but
that's fine.
I'm just guessing. Let's just give you a one.
Just guessing one.
Yeah, like basically. So somebody told me this today. It's like, even millionaires, like definable millionaires, you have $10 million, you're closer to bankruptcy than you are to being a billionaire.
Yeah. Yeah. A million to a billion is an enormous amount. And
It's an unfathomable amount, but
Yeah.
but people are out there and they're just getting more billions, and everybody else is just fighting over a couple bucks, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want a 10% raise. Oh, I can't afford that this year. Meanwhile, a guy has made your entire office's 10% raise in the first 10 minutes of the year,
Yeah.
right? So that's your post-capitalist feudalism. It's like, no, we're not trading cash anymore. We're just fighting for
scrap.
yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Is it bleak? Like
It is a bit bleak.
But so my point in thinking about things that way is that again it's collaboration over competition,
Okay.
right? So that it's not me against the other photographer that is at the exact same point I am, give or take. We're not actually competing with yourself.
No.
We're not fighting each other for money. People will use us against each other to try to. It's like, oh well, Joey Jojo over there is $100 less than you, and I'll be like, good for Joey Jojo.
Go for him.
Yeah,
Hire him.
cool. Right? You have to be able to leave that on the table.
Yeah.
I would love it, although this is, I guess technically illegal and called collusion. I would love it if Joey Jojo was just the exact same price as me.
Yeah.
Right? No, I can't tell Joey Jojo what to charge, but Joey Jojo, you're worth $100 more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Simple as that. If it's a level playing field, people are just making subjective choices.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I like working with Justin, or I like Joey Jojo's photos, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We can make the same money. We can charge the same rates. We can make more money. And when I say more money, it's not like I'm not swimming in a money bin. I'm not Scrooge McDuck, right? This is just like trying to get by. Maybe someday afford a vacation.
Yeah.
Right. It's
No,
like,
totally understand. So
Yeah.
going back to that first instance where you made money
sorry.
using your camera. No, it's okay. Don't be sorry. Is that where you're like something clicked and you're like, I want to do this, or it just happened? And it was an isolated event, and then life went on for a bit.
No, it wasn't isolated because it was ongoing. I was still taking photos for myself, so I was still carrying my camera around, and so then I still kept getting asked to do things, and then I would be asked to do bigger things, and I'd say, okay, I'll give it a try, and then I try, and then it'll be good or bad, or I think my interest was always into experimenting, right? Like at this point, I'm now looking at other people's work. And so a lot of that is emulating or reading books on it, or just like, you start with some photo sharing sites like Flickr, which has kind of died over the past, I don't know, decade even. But like,
You're still talking like pre-YouTube, right? Like pre-YouTube
Kind of,
content
Like,
channels that are just like Peter
mentally, it's
McKinnon
hard for me
style.
to like say when things start or stopped.
Yeah,
right.
But it wasn't a thing. Like you couldn't go on YouTube and watch 50 tutorials about something.
No, definitely not.
Okay,
definitely not. So you're still talking books.
Okay.
Right. There were some learning centers, like online learning resources. You have Kelby Training was a big one at the time. Scott Kelby was like he started doing kind of graphic design stuff, and then he started teaching Photoshop stuff, and then he started teaching photo stuff, and then he started expanding his portfolio to other photographers and other stuff. Again, we have a lot of things like that right now, but at the time, that was a novel idea, right? Like you're going to get all these guys together in this one thing, and I'm going to subscribe to that, and I'm going to get access to that. So I tried some of those things. Although I think for me, I learned best by doing.
Yeah.
So the trial and error kind of thing, like
it was like that the daily routine of just like take a photo, try it again, emulate, like keep.
Yeah.
That was what
fail
got me.
at it. Be like, oh, what did I do wrong? Right. And you have limitations where like. It's kind of funny because now I can kind of get whatever gear I want. But sometimes the restriction of having less allowed me to be more creative, right? The adversity bred creativity because you're scrapping away at what you can do. So you're like, oh, how do I solve this problem with what I have?
Yeah.
Versus I'm going to buy all the things.
But then
because that doesn't solve your problem.
No, it doesn't. I learned that early on as well.
Like now that I have all this good stuff, what do I do with it?
So do you like to put yourself in those situations still to this day where you almost like don't bring like 4 lenses and give yourself all the options, or now that you
it depends on the job.
Okay. Let's say you're going to shoot for fun.
Well, so like I do I shoot for fun anymore?
Do you?
I have fun while I shoot.
Okay.
So
you don't do okay.
I don't. I work a lot.
Right.
Like almost constantly. I've maybe like, because if I'm not shooting, I'm editing.
Right.
Right. Or running a business at this point too, which obviously eats up a lot of time. Responding to emails from somebody who's not going to hire you eats up time.
Absolutely.
Right? That kind of stuff really plays into the business end of this work. And so when you have downtime, more power to the people that have the time and they still challenge themselves with some personal work. It's been a couple of years since I've actually been able to do that. Sadly, I did it and I still think about that shoot.
Mm-hmm. You can do it.
You're right. I can.
You can start anytime. That's so then how'd you progress to
now
from the first photo at the hospital to
so it's a lot of that. It's a lot of come do this, come do that, right? And so I'm still working, but then I'm picking up photography work, right? First internally at this business that I'm part of, and then I guess kind of through word of mouth. It didn't really take off until I came to Ottawa because I was pretty much isolated in Toronto in this one kind of hospital area, right? So I'm not marketing, I'm not pushing it as a business or anything like that. So I'm just working for this one place, and it's my job, but then also I guess my side gig. We had an arrangement where what constituted my day job and not day job, and when I'd have to get that done. Kind of complicated, but we made it work. When I moved to Ottawa, again, I started as isolated, but there was a shift, and that's because Twitter started. And I moved to a new city, and I was incredibly isolated. I didn't know anybody here, and I had this kind of hobby that I had a basic skill set at, like maybe somebody pre-university level, like, you know what I mean? Like somebody who thinks I'm going to go into that photography program. Like I wasn't even that good.
Okay.
Right. Like if objectively looking at my work from the time, right? I just had enthusiasm and I'm personable, cause I had like 14 years in retail. Yeah. So
it's just a huge part of it. Your ability to communicate and do that public relations part of the business.
Yeah, I mean, like when talking to like starting up photographers, they're always going to diminish their value by saying things like, "I'm not good enough. I don't have the experience you have. I'm just starting out. Like I don't have the years to collaborate or corroborate that experience." And none of that to me matters. I mean, sure, there's maybe a value proposition there. Somebody with more experience should be able to offer more, but that's up to me. As somebody who's been doing this for over a decade, it's up to me to justify my cost, not for them to devalue themselves under it. Yeah. Right?
You're talking about them as in clients?
Let's say a student.
Okay, a student.
Just somebody starting out, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So, when I came to Ottawa, I started going on Twitter and just talking to people. It was a conversation medium. Before it was necessarily say shitty things, the world comes back to you. Yeah. It was very great at carrying conversations openly in the community, right? So it was this tight community before businesses and stuff got on there. And so I was just a guy who was a photographer, and so I would cross-post my Flickr photos to Twitter, and people would see my photos.
Because you had to put a link. You couldn't actually share photos to Twitter.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then that would drive traffic to Flickr, and then I got some notoriety for some of the photos I was taking then, and I was challenging myself more and more, just getting more interested in lighting and portraits and how that stuff was taken. And so that's when I started to get a little bit better. That's when I was good. Right. Like that was like a definable moment where like, okay, these are good photos.
Was it because you had the feedback, or because you actually had done it for a couple of years at that point?
A couple of years. The problem. Feedback is, and I learned this the hard way too. Like unsolicited feedback is useless. Yeah. Whether it's good or bad, unsolicited is almost always going to be bad, right? Unless you have an open dialogue with somebody, like a friend or something like that. Right. Like, hey man, just like we're friends, whatever. Like if you see something in one of my photos, just hit me with it. Like like I'll expect it from you. But if you don't know or have that arrangement with somebody, going in and critiquing a photo up front outside of like a forum that is saying I'm submitting my photo for critique, that is never going to be appreciated. No. Right? I'm putting something out into the world. I kind of want praise. I'll take neutrality, but I definitely don't want criticism.
Yeah.
And it's not me. I think most people are you're gonna be repelled to that. So yeah, it was my own critique of my own work, my own shortcomings, and what I attempted, the disparity between what I wanted to achieve, what I saw, what I knew was good, and what I was making, and I wanted to fill that gap.
Okay.
I think I'm paraphrasing Ira Glass here. I think he has a quote on creativity. You can find that on YouTube, and it talks about that, where like you start off and you're not good, and you know what good is, but you don't. You're right. You just keep working to bridge that gap.
You're trying to close. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the taste gap of creatives, and I was closing that gap, and I don't think I'm ever going to totally close it. I don't think that exists or shouldn't exist.
No, that's what makes it fun. I feel like, is that maybe why you're 12 years into this, because you can still improve?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when I moved here, there were a couple, like, the old guard photographers, and they were very closed off, right? They were actually like anti-new photographer. They were just like, everybody else sucks, I'm amazing.
Just resisting change.
Yeah, and so that was very off-putting, and I kind of I took that to heart, because I was like insulted by it, and maybe objectively it was true, but like it's not from a human perspective. And I think and when I look at their photos, they had stagnated. They had died in the 90s photographically. Like, they were not producing new work. They were top shit then, but it didn't change. And I think that they thought they had closed the gap, so they weren't chasing anything.
They just became complacent almost.
100%.
Like a machine. They became like a
yeah.
photo.
They're like, this is what I do.
This is what I do. Yeah.
Right. And a
That's
machine
deadly.
a machine can do good work of what it's given.
Yeah.
But it's not going to improve on it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So to improve you have to constantly challenge yourself, and part of that is constantly critiquing your own work and pushing and going for more. And so getting myself on Twitter was my self-promotion, and that got me external clients. That somebody's like, hey, I need somebody to shoot an event. You
do it?
You take photos.
Yeah.
You're a guy with a camera.
Yeah, you're a guy with a camera.
You're a guy with a camera. You can take photos, right?
Yeah.
Because the assumption is that all photographers can do everything. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're starting out, you kind of do.
That's kind of how I got. Like, I started to shoot weddings, because it's like, oh, you're a guy with a camera. Come shoot my wedding.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Oh, okay, sure.
So there's a whole bunch of people with inexpensive but probably not great wedding photos out there, right? Because they hired somebody that was cheap and didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
But they got what they paid for, and the photographer got experience, right?
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Win-win in a way.
Well, is it?
One side wins. The
Well,
photographer
their
wins.
budget wins, but I don't know about the final finished product. I mean, I'm a big proponent of hiring the right person for the job.
Absolutely. You seem like you're very passionate about the business side of
I guess I am.
of it, which is cool, because I am too. I run a video production company in Ottawa, and I love the the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Because I like transacting. I like doing business and talking to people, and like talking about money if you need to, and doing the things that grow the business. Because I was never and when I started, I wasn't great at what I did, but I was great at being in the right situations and talking to people and asking for things, and that kind of over time I got better at doing videos, and then
Right, but you were good at this other thing first, right?
Yeah.
The talking to people,
Yeah.
which is probably what got you the work,
yeah,
right? So like, you can have a bad photographer, but you can be a great salesman.
yeah.
And you're gonna run a great business probably.
Mm-hmm. And it was the directing of people, because I always enjoyed being in front of the camera. So I found that gave me a unique advantage to then tell people how to behave in front of the camera.
So you like photobombing your own shoots?
Well, I used to just shoot like silly vlogs, and like just like, for fun, like just make videos with my friends about the stuff we were doing, and then kind of figuring out how it gets pretty scary to have a lens pointed at your face. And that allowed me to comfort people when I was pointing a camera at their face. I would come and, try to give them the correct instructions. Like, this is kind of how it's do it. And I would even demonstrate it. And they'd be like, wow, you just do it. Why don't you just do it? I'm like, no, you're going to do it. You're going to do great. And then we've developed some cool relationships over time.
So that coaching people, especially in video.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. You got to coach them. So I want to, sorry, I had a little sidetrack. Go back to the Twitter. When did you leap to full-time photography then after that?
So there was a period of about a year. So the leap to full-time came, I was laid off from my job.
Okay.
Blessing in disguise, kind of, right? Because the layoff means you get EI for a little bit. And I did try to find work in my field, but it just wasn't there, at least not in any monetary value that made sense.
Did it
right?
not feel like a blessing at the time either? You're
Well,
just like, crap.
No, like it
I figured
doesn't,
out.
it's being rejected, right? That
Yeah.
never feels good. It's just business.
It's just business.
It's just business.
Yeah.
Like no hard feelings towards my employer. Like I hit a wall within my workplace that I could not work myself away from.
Yeah.
So they needed to restructure and change, and I needed to go. And then that was just business, and it's fair.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I was checking out mentally. Like I was very much paying more attention to photography and Twitter, conversations with people outside. I was not into my job.
Yeah.
Anymore. I didn't have the passion for it, and I hadn't even realized how much my passion for photography, all components of it, had taken over. Now I wasn't making a living at it. I wasn't close. It was, I was probably barely paying for the equipment I had at the same time. You know what I mean? It was just enough to buy more, and I was probably subsidizing it with my job more than I probably thought.
Yeah.
Right. Like, well, I have this job, so I'm going to spend some money on this. And, I just made $1,000. I'm going to spend $1,000 too. Right. Like no profit margin, just all of it back into it. So that I had a lot of stuff, which is great. Cause when I was laid off, obviously you're not buying anything. So I had some time to explore it. And it just kind of really came to a point where I needed to put myself out there. Mm-hmm. So the funny thing is it didn't happen in the way that I thought it would.
Putting yourself out or starting the business.
I'm no marketer. Like if I ever needed help, it's like, I don't cold call. I don't have pamphlets. I don't have an email list. I literally have my photos and me talking smack on the internet 24/7. Like that is what I do. Yeah. Right. Which is like a double-edged sword. Like I like it's either like sarcasm brings me my people or repels them completely. Yeah. Like my business has very much happened organically. Mm-hmm. And not a lot of it's been intentional.
Was it just kind of really. One thing led to the next to the next? Yeah. And you're still going in that trajectory, like 12 years of not really cold emailing and marketing like crazy, just building a relationship.
I never have. Yeah. I do things for people, but I don't like anytime the few times I've done like a cold something, it's literally fallen flat. Like just nothing. So do good work for the people I'm with, good word of mouth, community building.
And you build like long-term relationships, I imagine.
Yeah. I try to.
You try to. I mean, if you're not doing any marketing, you would have to still be doing this 12 years later.
Yeah. So like I can't tell people how to get clients because I don't know.
You don't even know. Okay. But okay, then it's okay. But how do you?
I don't know.
How to get clients? What's your process then? How do you kind of run your current photography operation? Like what does it entail? Can you tell me about your process?
So the change from me as a guy with a camera walking around taking pictures of like locks on fences and stuff like that, which I think is
so romantic.
It's like every photographer's like first 10 photos.
What, locks on a fence?
Like, there's locks on the fence. I'm just gonna take some photos.
What does it mean? I don't know.
It's love.
It's pollution.
It's pollution. Yeah. It's waste. Just ruined both the fence and the lock.
Yeah.
So I'm still. So I recently incorporated. So my business is no longer me. It is a separate entity.
Right. Only recently, like
literally last year.
Okay. Wow.
Right. So that's
so you went
that's
as
a
sole
milestone.
Proprietor.
Yeah. A lot of people incorporate early on. I didn't. I just ran as a sole proprietor.
Wow.
For a decade.
Crazy.
I was,
it's easy. It's a little bit easier.
It is.
On the back end.
It depends on how much money you pull in, and I was never pulling in more than I spent. right?
Okay.
Like people are like, what do you mean more than you spent? Like literally, like you spend every dollar you have. There's very little incentive to incorporate.
Right. And then that spending involves like paying yourself
Yeah,
a wage
I mean,
or salary or whatever it is.
well,
Like,
I mean, with sole proprietorship, it's almost the same bank account. Right?
Yeah.
You're giving yourself anything that isn't a cost is yours.
right. And then your tax on it.
Correct. Yeah. So, that was just the way it had to be. I needed every dollar that I made, that I didn't spend on the business. What does the business entail though? And this hasn't changed too much. It has just expanded over time.
Yeah.
I rarely work on my own anymore, first of all. So I'm rarely doing shoots on my own. I almost always have an assistant with me.
Nice.
Like 99% of the time. So most assistants work on a contract basis, right? They're not employees. I gotta look at my numbers and I just don't, because we don't work every day, right?
Yeah.
We're not shooting every day. For every day of shooting, you got 2 days of admin and edits.
You can't
right?
have a full-time employee necessarily. Well, you
I mean,
can, but it'd be very expensive.
Yeah, it would be very expensive, and if their work is only for certain things, then it's almost better for them to be a contractor because they can do other assisting work for other photographers. Right?
Yeah.
And that is kind of the definition of a contractor, somebody that can
Yeah.
do other work for other people. I mean, there's a gamble there because it means that some people might not be available for you all the time, right? There can be a little bit of a shortage of qualified help,
Right.
I suppose, right? Because a lot of assistants want to be photographers too, so they're going to grow up and out of that role.
Exactly.
I outsource all my editing because I don't need to anymore. I don't need to clone that same crumb on the floor, patch that same light switch on a wall, retouch that droopy eye anymore. I know how to do it. I've done it 1,000 times. My goal is to get myself behind the camera and on a shoot. That is the thing that I get paid to do. All the other stuff other people can do. So I outsource my editing, and I don't farm it out overseas. I work with, I say local, but like local Canadian talent.
Yeah.
So
Are these people that you have a relationship with?
Yeah. So they're real people. I'm not underpaying and exploiting somebody overseas. That means I'm not paying them anything, but at the same time, I'm not farming it out. I am farming it out, but I'm farming it out close to home.
Right. Supporting another Canadian business in a way.
Yeah, that's true. They are another Canadian business. I get to work closely with them.
Yeah.
In one case, somebody I hired out of school, and I helped her edit the way I wanted things to be done. Because there's certain ways that you're taught. There's certain ways that I do things. There's certain ways that I don't care how it gets from A to B, just that it happens.
Yeah, because there's a couple ways to do it in that situation.
Yeah, so like whatever it is, it's good as long as we get there.
Right.
And we get there well. And if we don't get there well, then I'm going to show you the way that I like, because that's kind of the trick with photography, right? And edits and the stuff that layers on top of that photo to finished product is taste, right? Like this sort of subjective feeling you want to put into the photo. What's a perfect photo, or what's your version of perfect, or what's the business version of perfect, and where does the cost of having things done equal the end product that you want to deliver, right? So yeah, so I like, because they're contractors, there's no definite amount, but like at all times there's like at least 2 people doing work with me. Nice. Either in person or remotely.
Yeah. And I noticed you do a lot of like architecture photography.
Yeah.
You seem to enjoy photographing buildings.
I do. Yeah. I kind of stumbled into that. I've always loved shooting people, and it was like people in places. And then I also shoot spaces. So like those 3 things are really just like the hallmarks of what I do. And if you go to my Instagram, it's almost all architecture, because over the years, my clients have really guided what I shoot.
Right.
And when I say clients, I mean like who's paying me to do what.
Yeah. And they want photos of buildings and residential and commercial properties.
Apparently I got good at that.
They're pretty cool. They've got some cool, your framing is satisfying. And
I'm glad you're satisfied.
It's a satisfying framing. I'll link Justin's Instagram in the description wherever you're listening or watching, so you can check it out. It's cool to see my city and then someone photographing it, because I'm like, oh, that's a cool way to do it, and it's cool to see someone else's take on something you've attempted before.
Right. So in my case, you're not going to see a lot of the same stuff because I mean, I'm being paid to shoot all this stuff, right? So I'm not doing it necessarily for myself, although I like doing it, right? So I mean, somebody asked me to take a picture of a house. I'm going to take a picture of that house. But you're not walking around taking pictures of everybody's house.
No.
Right. You're taking pictures of things that strike your eye. So this is where, say, like, you know, we have a lot of great Instagram photographers. And I say Instagram photographers because that's where they live, right? That's where their fame and fortunes are met.
That's dangerous.
You can tell me about that, but like mine's just a portfolio for me, right?
Yeah.
My Instagram is not where I live. It's where I put things.
Yeah,
It's my wall, right?
Yeah, you have fun with it, and it's
a
creative
like
space.
stories are a fun place to kind of
Yeah.
be a bit more playful. Whereas, you know, there's some, like I said, incredible photographers running around Ottawa taking some just great photos of the Chateau Laurier in a snowstorm. I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, that's a really nice photo, dude. Like, I don't go out, like, if there's a nice sunset, I just wait for the photos to come to me now.
That's so funny.
I get a little FOMO because I'm like, oh, I wish I was shooting a project tonight. But like, if I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't worry.
You won't
about
actually. Was there a time when you would
Yeah, absolutely.
go for fun
Yeah.
and just go shoot sun? Like I used to
Yeah.
do that too during like first lockdowns. I literally spent an entire like year. I made a video called "Chasing Sunsets."
Okay.
I was early flying drones, and I just wanted to film sunsets, and it was cool.
But you did that, right?
And I don't typically, if the sun is setting, I'll usually just stand there with my eyes closed and soak it up. Not.
That's beautiful though.
Yeah.
That's a great moment.
That's the biggest dilemma is I want to enjoy existing and I want to capture this because it's beautiful, and it's been hard to balance, but I keep finding myself going back towards I'm just going to enjoy this, and I'll go and do really cool things and not have my camera and be a little upset about it. But can you relate to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you're not working every day, like when you're working like a couple times a month, yeah, like going out and shooting the sunset is a lot of fun because you're filling your time with something you love to do. My time is spent.
Yeah.
Like I need less time shooting, not more time shooting.
Yeah.
Right? And even though it's not what I do for work, going out with my camera is work.
Yeah.
Right. And the professional expectations I put on myself at this point, like, oh, I need this piece of gear, I need this, because as you do stuff, you accumulate things. So then I only have to do things in a certain way, the way that I built up how I shoot for business.
Yeah.
And I actually take the fun out of it myself. Right. Whereas sitting and just soaking up the sun is actually a way better experience for me now, because I don't shoot sunsets for a living.
No.
Right. I don't need a photo of that sunset for anything anymore. I have some that I took and explored, and I'm happy with those photos. If I really, really needed a photo of it, I got my iPhone.
Yeah. Will you go and plan shoots during golden hour?
I mean, yeah, like I chase the light, especially when you're so, I mean, for me, there are two ways to approach a thing. You either light it or it's lit for you. Right. So when I'm shooting the outside of a building, I can't light it.
No.
You know, there's people like Gregory Crutzen who like bring entire lighting sets with them to a small village, and that's how he takes a photograph. Right. He creates a movie scene with movie gear and takes a still photograph.
To take a photo of like an exterior space.
Yeah. If you don't follow his work, it's
Who is it? Gregory what?
Gregory Crutzen.
Gregory Crutzen.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's remarkable work, but I don't have.
Yeah,
that
you need
budget.
like a full crew and a huge budget.
Yeah, like
to
that's
do
his
that.
fine art photography, right? That's
Okay.
what he creates.
Yeah.
So I'm not lighting a house, but I will know where that light is, and often that'll be following sunrise, sunset, right? So your summer days are long, right? We put in 18-hour days. You know, sometimes with travel time, it's longer.
Yeah.
Right. And then you do it again the next day. It is. So, you know, some days I'm like driving home and I'm like tired. I'm exhausted. I'm like, that's a really nice sunset. But it's somebody else's sunset now, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll catch it on Instagram. Somebody's doing a great job of that sunset. Somebody's devoted their life to taking the best sunset photos on Instagram, and I'm going to soak that up from them. There's you ever seen the movie, what's it, Walter Mitty? The something of Walter Mitty. It's a
No, I don't.
Ben Stiller movie.
I don't recall. No, I don't think so.
Sean Penn's in it, and he's a photographer, and he doesn't come into the end. But I'm not spoiling anything by saying this. But there's this scene, and I'll quote it every so often, He's a nature photographer. He's there to shoot snow leopards, like this wildly elusive animal, right? Like you can spend your life trying to find one you won't.
Yeah.
And he's there, and they're together, and the snow leopard shows up, and he puts his camera down. He's like, "What are you doing? Are you gonna take a photo?" He's like, "No, sometimes I just want to be in the moment, just for myself." Right.
And that's kind of what we were just talking about.
Exactly that.
Like when you're walking through like a beautiful, peaceful forest or just something, it's like, I find those are the moments that give me energy and like, just like kind of fuel my soul.
So you need a
like,
creative recharge, right? Like you're not going to draw, like creativity does not come out of nowhere, right?
No.
You need influences, and you're not going to get those influences from within your own field either, right?
Yeah.
So like you can get ideas. So like if I'm shooting architectural photography, which is the bulk of my work these days, I will get influenced by other architectural photos, but I'm not going to get true creativity within that field. You're going to get that by reading, by walking through the woods, by being inspired by something else. You're going to have ideas through other inputs, because if you're only in that one little silo, that little box, it's just going to be self-contained. It's just self-perpetuating, bouncing ideas off of the same walls, right? It's so you got to take time down. You got to put the camera down. You got to go for a walk. You got to enjoy moments for yourself, to be inspired, so that you can bring that back to your work.
Yeah, that is very important. It's hard. Is that what you do personally?
No, I just work all the time.
You just work all the time. You must enjoy it though. If you're working all the time,
I do. I like
no. If I'll never shame someone for working all the time. I'm like, oh, you work too much. Slow down. Like, if you like it, man, do it.
My girlfriend will shame me for working all the time.
I mean, it's.
But she wants me to, right?
It's understandable.
But it's a fair drive, because people who care about you are also going to see you come home exhausted, right?
Yes.
So I can talk eloquently about it now, but talk to me. I if you were like calling me in like June,
when you're burnt out, 5 18-hour days in a row,
with 5 black coffees and a croissant maybe. No,
I can understand why the people close to you would.
I'm still energized by it. I still love it, but they see something else in me that I'm not even catching in myself physically.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because I guess because mentally I'm so into it, but physically my body's failing.
Okay.
Because I'm personally working myself too hard.
Yeah, but you don't even realize it.
I've done it my entire life.
Consumed. So what is it about this type of work that gives you the energy? Because not many people have the energy to just push and push and push and push. What is it about it that you're able to just find energy for it?
For me, I think I've just always been able to work. I don't think this is a photography specific thing for me as a person.
Yeah.
I think I've just always been a good I say good worker, but I got to check myself there, because being able to work 24 hours a day is not a good trait.
No.
I mean,
because then you're declining in effectiveness as the day goes on.
Maybe not, but I'm definitely shortening my lifespan or my enjoyment of it in some capacity, right? Like I'm not, like you obviously can't operate at 100, but like, I don't know.
What's the point?
My 80% is still pretty good. Yeah. So, no, like, I guess, growing up in a family business, I was told once, it's like as if you were bred to work. Like I was born into a family business, and I worked with and for my parents.
Yeah.
And
you were familiar with it.
They never stopped. Not really.
What was their business, if you don't mind me asking?
Comic books.
Really?
Yeah, comic book store.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So and they were always working?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I guess my dad did take time off, but in your classic, father-son dynamic, I think I was always trying to please him. And so to me, that just meant working more. Yeah.
But you're the idea of not having there's no, it's 9 to 5, work's done. It's the store needs us.
Correct. Yeah. So that concept didn't exist to me. I actually ended up in a hospital at 24.
From overworking?
Yeah, I was burnt out.
Wow.
It was like 4 IV bags.
Wow.
And I didn't sleep for a month, and then I slept for a month, and like just massive depressive anxiety, huge mental breakdown, physical breakdown.
Have you found a way to kind of not get into that state, or have you found out what triggered it?
Yeah, well, I mean, what triggered it was like this drive to please somebody that could never be pleased. So that's a whole different story, right? Talk about daddy issues, but I think for me, like, because like I'm capable of it again, right? Like I've this past year, I've really found myself falling into sort of this old habit of never stopping. Never ever stopping, and I don't recommend it. And I think most people don't do that.
The never stopping.
The never stopping.
Yeah.
Because I'm not greedy. I'm not particularly ambitious. Like this isn't me like being like, I'm not a competitive guy. Like I'm not into sports. Like I don't like on my days off I do like nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like my competitive sport is how much TV I can get watched. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish this Netflix show so hard, man.
One day,
like that's me. So like it's really just me. It's a weird psychological thing, and it's bad for creativity.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, like talking about like when you break that chasing the creative game thing, you can operate at a high level and reproduce that thing, but you're not changing it. Right, like when you're working every day.
Yeah, it's
so
becoming a rinse and repeat. And
yeah,
I've been learning by doing and going into my third year of operating a business and learning early on how easily I can burn myself out, but not like you don't realize it until you're burnt out.
Correct,
which
and
sucks.
and I think and probably something I'm not giving enough credit for is burning out the people around you, the people that you love, and the people that love you, so that they see you exhausted, or they even just have to be around you but not get you.
Exactly.
They don't get any of you because
mentally checking out
you've given yourself completely over to everything else. And that's very like talk about 2023 business goals right now. Let's talk about Justin needs some personal time.
Yeah, good for you. My girlfriend's giving me shit. She's like, you can't do that. You can't, because
you're actually looking at mine right now. She's just sitting over there.
She's sitting in the background.
Is she listening to this?
Yeah, I think so. No, it's okay. She's our behind the scenes director today.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but she's not wrong.
She's not wrong.
But do you fight it
initially?
Yeah.
And then as the
like a defense mechanism,
you're like, I'm good.
How dare you?
How dare you challenge me providing for this family?
I know,
just kidding,
right?
not family yet. But it's you fight it because you don't see anything wrong with it until you marinate with that idea and you're like, okay, maybe I should push the brakes a bit. Like I'm literally racing nobody. The urgency is completely self-created and it's just causing me to be less effective.
Like, if you look at anybody that's like super rich, it's not because they worked harder.
No.
I'm not saying they didn't work hard, but it's not the same. Like I've worked myself to the hospital and I didn't become a millionaire.
No.
Right? Because maybe it wasn't the right thing, whatever. No, the hardest working people in the world are not the wealthiest, right? So the idea that hustle alone brings success isn't true. Right? Like there's a certain level of luck and right place, right time, and exploitation that takes place in that case. So when it's just you working, I'm not saying this isn't how some people get successful. I'm just saying it's definitely not guaranteed.
No.
It's just a great way to burn out and maintain a status quo.
Yeah.
But you have a problem like how much more groceries now? How much everybody's costs have gone up significantly. Rents are going up, right? Like crazy. Home costs are unattainable for most people now.
Yeah.
So, and then you say, oh, well, I need to make more money. So if you're self-employed, that means you got to charge more. Then so people say, oh, you're too expensive. And you take that personally, right? You're like, oh, am I too expensive? And you're like, no, I didn't make up this number. This is literally what I need to make so I can get the basis of what we consider like, what's it, the median wage in Ottawa is something high. It's like 80 grand a year.
That's actually a lot. But I mean,
but I think the median, the stress test for buying a house in Ottawa is like 120 grand a year or something like that. Like something high.
Yeah. So you need to.
I'm like, and when I grew up, I don't know about you, but when I grew up, 6-figure salary was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like that's like hyper unattainable. And now it's like No, that's actually just the minimum you need to buy a house.
Yeah. And it's not even a big house.
Right? And people are going to well, you do this, do that, whatever, right? But like the same point saying that like, no, you're probably worth what you're asking for. And somebody else is just, doxing you into thinking that you're not worth something, because that's how some people make money, right? They could increase their prices too, and they probably have, right? So some places are going to increase their prices while deflating the value of other things, and then they take what's in between, right? But another way to do business is that if things are going to go up, then everything goes up along with it. That's the basis of inflation.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't adjust like right away. It takes a while.
Well, it doesn't. But when you're on your own, you have to make that choice. Nobody's going to do it for you. Like my clients aren't like, you know what, Justin, I'm going to give you an extra 10% this year.
Yeah.
I got to be like, I want an extra 10% this year, and this is just the way it's going to be. And they got to be like, cool, or what else we're going to get, or there's a bit of a negotiation there. Of
course.
But I need to make that call, and I need to make it every year.
Yeah.
Just to stay even. Just to stay even, you need to increase your prices.
Just to even with the other people doing it, or even with just living?
I don't, like, again, I'm not even talking about competition at this point, right? This is just the cost of living, right?
Yeah.
So your inflation index is going to be like what?
What did you see? 7% last year?
Last year was high, right?
Yeah.
But it's like normally like 2 to 5% every year, right? So do you raise your prices 2 to 5% every single year?
Probably not.
Right. So then when you do raise your prices just to keep up with inflation, the median, this is just what $1 buys, then you're going to have to do it by what, 10%, 50%, 20%? That's a big jump.
Yeah.
Right. Then people are going to be pissed. I've seen people throw riots at Tim Hortons because there's an extra 15 cents on a cup of coffee. Right. Like people get mad. Right. But the thing is, this is literally like my dollar doesn't buy as much. I can't buy as many bananas this year as I did last year because of inflation.
The purchasing power is down. So those are very seemingly difficult conversations because money is a very taboo subject. Hard to talk about. Shouldn't be, but it is, unfortunately. So can you give any advice to having those conversations? Like how can you approach your clients and,
I mean, I've always kind of operated on an honesty is the best policy. I'm very, very upfront and open. And like I said, my online time is being sarcastic. Sometimes it's going to turn people off. So some people are not going to have that dialogue with you, which is too bad, right? The idea that we're talking about money is taboo is again, to me, just a way of keeping wages down. Right?
It's like saying it's just business.
Yeah, it's just business. Isn't, I'm not hiring you. That can't possibly affect you personally. I don't think you're good enough and are not worthy of money, right?
It's just business.
It's just business.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So, it's taken me years to even get to this point of being able to talk about it, right? And I can talk about it, and what I feel at the other end are going to be different things too.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk the talk, and meanwhile, I'm like, please pay me, right?
Yeah.
I still deal with accounts receivable issues, right? Like collecting and getting paid.
Yeah. Chasing.
I lately this is the past couple of years, and I think this speaks to a lot of how great my clients are now, because they in photography it ends up being great because they are repeats, right?
Yeah.
You need to get some people in because there's attrition. There's some people that leave, but like in some businesses it's one and done, right? You service a client, say home renos, right? Like how many are you going to have, right? You just get it and you're done, you're out.
Yeah.
But in my case, it's the same people, and I think we just build trust, right? So that's a long game, right? So when you're always dealing with new clients, which anybody starting out will be, it's always a fight. There's no trust there, right? You got to build trust. They have to trust your value proposition, that your work, your creativity, your demeanor and ability to both work alongside them, produce what they need. All needs to jive.
Be reliable, be on time.
Yeah, and it
stuff.
might not, right? That should be okay, because there might be somebody else who just is a bit different than you.
Yeah.
Right? And they'll produce a product that better aligns with what that person wants or needs. So I'm better at it now, but that doesn't make it easy.
Of course not.
Right? I try not to be apologetic about money. Right?
I try not to be apologetic about anything that I'm not sorry for. I know it's very Canadian to be like, sorry, but I'm like...
That makes your apology more worthwhile,
yeah.
right? How does your girlfriend feel about that? It's just like...
I mean, I'm talking in like I feel like it's different with your relationship
Oh, no, you're
with your
always sorry
significant
there. I
other
get it.
because you don't want to upset the person you
don't.
love, but
I'm sorry,
in
sweetie.
day to day, sorry, sweetie, if she even
Sweetie.
listens to this podcast.
If you're listening to this, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Sarah. Not sorry, but yeah, not being apologetic is important because if you haven't done anything wrong, you shouldn't be apologizing.
I
And even when I don't answer a message, I'm not even like sorry to answer your message. I'm like, hey, what's up? I was busy.
Yeah. So like,
I'm sorry about it.
I'm less like this now, but I definitely recall being like that when I was
Mhm.
younger, and I still see it in younger photographers now, and I'm sure it translates into lots of different fields.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to have a cocky confidence, but it's not saying sorry is a barrier, right? You're setting a certain professional boundaries with
Mhm.
people that I'm not going to apologize for my rates because I need this. I literally need this.
And they need it too.
Who?
The clients.
Yes. I mean, you're asking me for it, right?
They need. I like operating, and my business model is also business to business only.
Yeah.
I don't like to do business to consumer because it's just
Messy.
To me, it's a headache. To me, it's people are unwilling to spend because they don't really gain anything financially from buying your services.
Right.
Which is why I like business to business, because they're making money off your services. They're more inclined to pay for your services.
Because it's just business.
It is just business. And it's just like everyone's mixing around pre-tax money and having a great time.
That's kind of it, right?
Mhm.
But I definitely maintain friendships with people that are shooting family photography, and they are constantly belittled and undermined, like on a personal basis. So they're trying to run a business, and people, because it's their personal money, their expectations are unrealistic and unfair. And like, she tells me these stories, and I can't believe the way that people treat other people.
Really?
And
Just like absolute just disrespect.
Just disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can find an analogous term for almost anything and anybody in any, like, or in any business, right?
Yeah.
There's something that I can take from what they're doing and apply it to how I do so that they can see how we are the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's something somewhere. Oh, this is how you get money and spend time. This is how I get money and spend time. Like, that's like the basis of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
People don't treat people like that sometimes on an individual basis, I find, right?
No.
So yeah, that was a big a happy factor in not shooting weddings, family photos, stuff like that. I mean, the budgets obviously aren't there because it's people's personal money.
Yeah.
Right. So like, they don't have a lot of it to spend. Even the
And
idea,
they've already paid tax on that money too.
yeah, and because as a business, if you make over $30,000 a year, you have to charge HST, right?
Yeah.
And so a business can reclaim that tax, but an individual cannot.
No.
So it's 13% more expensive now. You're 13% more expensive as a family photographer that is suddenly broken out of the poverty line than a photographer who makes under or is cheating, right?
Yeah.
Like it's. But I get it. I understand that, but it's still the way it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty easy to move into, because like, I was shooting family photos. I did a couple weddings.
I want to talk about some of your extreme family photos.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was browsing through your website.
Man, you creep me. That's
I
old
did
stuff.
creep you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw you had some pretty old forum posts on your website, but I noticed the extreme family photos.
Okay.
Those are hilarious.
Thank you.
It's like, can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I was bored. This is during my layoff period.
Okay.
So I was home with my two kids, and they were young, and I didn't have a job. I didn't have things to do, but I wanted to explore and pursue photography. So I would come up with a concept and a set, and I would shoot them in sort of photoshopped poses, or like I would shoot it with the intent of photoshopping. So I'd put them in precarious or adventurous positions, right? And it was both fun. It was a great exploration of creativity, because I was kind of getting myself in this routine of creating something different every day or every week, I guess it was. This actually brought me some notoriety and fame, because some people didn't understand that these were photoshopped. And honestly, I'm not that good at Photoshop.
They're pretty funny. Like the one I saw, it was like a kid hanging from a monkey bar with one hand, and
right,
the parents are like down below.
So what
people
happened
thought it was real.
Yeah, so there's one where I put a kid in a pot on the stove, And then
pretty fun.
separately, I took a photo of the stove on, and then I blended those together in Photoshop. Like, it's a really simple technique.
Yeah.
But people are like, this guy should go to jail. He's cooking a baby. You know how hot pans get and stuff like that? It's like, and I literally
They
would
miss the point.
I would literally write like how I did it underneath too, like no secrets. Like
You're like, this is a Photoshop.
not even full disclaimer. I would even explain just the process of it,
Right.
Because that I was emulating what the people I was observing do, right? So I was watching educators, so I thought that to be a successful photographer, you needed to be an educator as well. So I was educating through my inexperience, basically, what I was doing as I did it.
Interesting. To be a success, you thought you had to be an educator?
Yeah, it's just what I saw. I just saw like, oh, this photographer shoots, but he also travels and gives workshops.
I feel like that's very prevalent today. To be like a lot of creators are also educators because they give out tips on the internet in short form video.
Yeah, and so I this is separate of this. So we'll talk about the photos. So I got these photos. They started becoming very popular on Flickr, and they hit Flickr Explorer, which was like a thing. It's like the top 100 photos on Flickr.
Cool.
And then people in Ottawa would see it and say, they're like, oh, how much for that? And it's an involved process.
Of course,
It's a big deal.
Got to
It's
get
like
a kid to cooperate.
Well, yeah,
and like
time, set. Like, you're basically doing set design. This is the start of commercial photography. It is basically commercial photography, but I was doing it myself, and I was doing it with families. But they could never reach a budget that actually paid for the work. Like, it's like 2 days of Photoshop, a day of prep, a day of shooting.
Yeah. So
And then they get one photo, just one.
Yeah.
Right. And like, so often you're valuing volume. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I could never get the premium on it that I needed. But as an endeavor, as a workshop, as an idea, it showcased what I was capable of. It got attention. So I said I had no intentional marketing. This was unintentional marketing. I got a lot of attention on this. Yahoo actually flew me out to New York to interview me for these.
That must have been a cool moment.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I did a fly into New York for one night. I had friends down there. I was like, hey guys, I'm in New York for a night.
I'm a big shot photographer now.
Yeah, right. Oh, definitely wasn't. It was many years before I made a living. Still,
That's still pretty cool though to be flown out by a big company like
felt
that.
good.
Yeah.
It definitely felt good. It felt like
Boost the confidence.
almost feel like you make it, but you realize how far you still have to go.
Yeah, but I feel like those moments early on are pretty important to like spark a fire. You're like, holy crap! Like, I'm in a situation which I never thought I would be in, and then
It's a confidence boost,
that
right?
and then you want to keep going.
You need
of that.
you need the confidence to keep going, and it's affirmation that people like your work, because ultimately I'm not only doing it for myself, at least not at that point anymore. Right?
Yeah.
I'm doing it for that affirmation. I'm doing it for the likes. I'm doing it for the clicks. I need to make money at this too, but at that point it's something else. So it's the personal work was driving attention, and I was getting commercial work from that. The irony being that the commercial work was not the same thing. I was rarely hired to use that same skill set commercially. I think we were talking about this before the show on portraits.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, there's something that'll draw attention, and then people say, oh, you're a photographer. How about you do this boring thing? And I'll be like, well, does it pay well? And be like, yeah, okay, then I'm going to do that. And so sadly, a lot of that personal stuff dropped off. And then the style of what I shot dropped off. And so I don't necessarily miss it, but it was great sense of time. And I still have that skill set for the most part.
Like, you could do it again if you wanted to.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it would obviously be a different approach. It's an approach of 10 more years of experience and maybe a little bit of lethargy too. Maybe be lazy about it, right?
Yeah.
Because like at the time you're like trying things that you don't know if it works or not, so it does work, but it's like completely experimental to you.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
yeah, so that got me a lot of attention. I got your attention too, right?
It caught my attention. Yeah.
So it still pays off to have up there, even though at this point it's old work. It's dated for me, but I don't have new versions of it either.
No.
But it's still relevant.
Maybe
I
we'll
think
shoot like
from a creative journey standpoint.
Yeah, it is. It'd be cool to shoot like a podcast cover album art of me hanging from the ceiling. I could actually probably hang from the ceiling, but save you the work.
You're like, I can just do it.
I could just do it. I could just It's business.
What's the insurance looking like?
No, they're like,
It's
no.
a-
If they're listening, they've already canceled the policy.
Yeah, no.
Justin, if you could do, this is present day Justin, if you could do anything without limitations or constraints, what would you do?
Whoa, like you're giving
Personal
me
or
a context-free.
Personal or professional? Is there something you've just like always wanted to do, but it's seemingly not feasible, not possible?
Honestly, like right now, I would love to take 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even a month. Yeah, you're saying seemingly impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a month off and going to Europe with my partner
Mm-hmm.
would be incredible because I've never been able to do that.
Would you bring a camera?
Yeah, but a little one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Not my kit.
No.
I have a travel camera. Like I have different cameras for different things,
Mm-hmm.
different
Same.
tools.
I've been shooting a lot of film, like 35 millimeter
yeah?
film photography,
That's fine.
because of the fact that when I hold a digital camera, I feel like I'm working.
Yeah.
When I hold a film camera, it feels like a toy. I'm just like, I have a point and shoot Olympus. I have an old Canon 81 SLR. Just have fun with it. Like,
So I have it's been popularized lately, but
Mhm.
I've been using the Fuji X100 series for a long time.
those are like digital versions
They're-
of a film camera.
Yeah, they look like a film camera. They
And
have
they
this like
emulate
nostalgic
film and the
yeah,
like,
yes, the
internally, yeah.
JPEGs too. I still shoot RAW and do my own stuff on them.
Okay.
But it's a fixed lens camera.
Right.
So it's just a bit more than my iPhone, right? Because
Mhm.
the iPhone can take a bunch of different kinds of photos.
Mhm.
But what it can't do is it can't blur things, not realistically, right?
Not
That aperture,
optically,
not
yeah.
optically,
Mhm.
right? So it has just a big enough sensor and lens to give it an optical blur at a 35 millimeter equivalent.
Yeah, my
And
friend
that's
just
it.
got one of those because he always makes fun of me for shooting. He's like, "Why are you shooting film? It's expensive. What are you doing? You're wasting your time."
No, it's fine.
And he got an X100V. And he's showing me all
Yeah.
these film emulations. He's like, you can just get that look digitally. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's not
it-
about.
Yeah,
like,
like
I know
ask
I
him how much he
can.
spent on that camera, right? There's
He
not a cheap
pa-
camera, but
No, and they're like very sought after right now. Like,
yeah,
I think
it actually went up in price.
Purchased it used for more than what it costs new.
Yeah.
because he
That's
wanted
nuts.
it.
Yeah, and I've just had them. I've had multiple iterations of it.
Yeah.
because I've just loved this series
Mm-hmm.
as my personal camera.
It's-
I can use it for work, and I have used it for work,
Yeah.
but it's not my work camera. My work cameras are heavy. They hurt my arms when I carry them too.
What are
too
your
long.
work cameras? Just out of
Oh,
curiosity.
okay. So for the tech people out there, I'm currently using a Fuji GFX 100S.
Nice. Medium format.
Yeah, so it is a medium format camera. Fuji made that completely accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Because previously, like if you're looking at a phase one back, which are larger sensors, so like it's not still the same quality. I rented one once.
Mm-hmm.
Cost me $3,000. I spent an entire job's.
$3,000 to rent it?
Yeah, I needed they wanted a $46,000 deposit.
Oh my god! For which camera?
It was a phase one.
Of the Fuji?
No, sorry. So I'm just talking about like a bigger camera.
Oh, this is even more than a medium format.
Yeah, so
There's bigger sensors.
before
than
the Fuji came out, phase one,
Okay.
Mamiya, Hasselblad were kind of
that was the only way to get an enormous
yeah.
sensor.
So you basically needed $50,000 to buy part of the camera.
Jesus, that's a lot of money.
Like you need $100,000 startup,
yeah.
right? And then Fuji just dropped this incredible piece of tech. I tried the first iteration. It was a 50 megapixel camera,
Mm-hmm.
and just like it was a little slow. It was the first gen, right?
Yeah.
It just didn't quite meet my needs. I didn't quite have the cash flow to because it's still more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I got that, and so that's my workhorse. That is what most of my stuff is. But it's a 100 megapixel camera, a medium format, like you said. But the data load on that is heavy. Now I'm not shooting video, so I don't have a lot to complain about compared to guys doing like 4K.
It still is a lot though. Like 300 photos in medium format is quite a fair bit.
Yeah, I mean I think the raw files are something like 500 megs each.
Each?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought it was like 100.
No.
Jeez, that's a lot. It's like
maybe
I mean, it's like
compressed,
shooting
maybe a JPEG
in raw video. I know exactly. I can relate exactly to that.
So that was a learning curve. But anyway, so that's my workhorse.
That's cool.
Then I also have my first camera was a Canon camera, so
Mhm.
I had a Canon Digital Rebel.
Nice.
That was kind of the entry level camera at the time, and like people were always like, "Oh, Nikon Canon." I don't care, right? Like it's just my friends had Canon cameras,
Yeah.
so they were an incredible resource for me. So of course I got a Canon camera.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I get a Nikon camera and they're all Canon? And then I'd be like, "Hey guys, how do I do something?" They'd be like, "I don't know. You got a different camera than us,
Yeah.
right?" So like, go with the pack.
Yeah.
So I had a Canon camera. I've had Canon cameras the whole time. So right now, sort of my other cameras are a Canon which is it? I have a Canon R5 and an R6, because I shoot events still. I shoot portraits still. Ain't nobody need 100 megapixels of their face.
No.
Like, that is excessive. So unless it's like some very specific commercial use, I don't need to take that much detail of somebody's head. So I have
which is still excellent
it's
cameras.
an incredible camera
For video and photo.
I love these cameras. Like cameras have never been as good as they are now. They just keep making them
I know.
better, right? So there's no bad camera out there. It's just what works for you.
It's cool. It is, like you said, go with the packet. It is kind of based on what the people around you are shooting with, because then you can share stuff. You can be like, oh, you have lenses. Can I borrow your lens? Or and that's how I started. I would borrow the lenses of my friends, and we'd swap lenses and stuff. And
exactly, that is the absolute best way to get into it, right? Just borrow. Like you don't even have to buy things, right?
Yeah, I used to,
because it's expensive. It's more expensive now than it was before.
Yeah,
camera costs have gone up something like 20%. Like.
Right. Well, like hard to get now too.
The X100 is
like, apparently this camera we're shooooting on, right? It's an A7S3, and it's apparently hard to get. Like,
because you have shortages on chipsets and other things coming out of Asia. That's why the X100V is the Fuji, the point and shoot that I use personally. Is hard to get because they're not able to manufacture them right now. And then it had this like TikTok hype.
I didn't even know that. I just it's because it's the cheaper version of the Leica Q2, which is an $8,000 camera with a fixed lens.
You just don't need it, right?
You don't need. So everyone went to the Fuji, and then
and so what happens is it's just like, I think somebody on TikTok was just like, top 5 things you need to know to be a photographer. Get this camera, and people are like, oh, okay.
What a weird space TikTok is.
It's addictive. It is a problem. I half wish I never got on it, but at the same time, I can't turn away from it.
Do you use it for any sort of benefit to your business?
Absolutely not, because I already spent too much time on it. Like,
have you thought about that? Have you thought about flipping the camera and just behind the scenes, documenting what you do?
Yes and no. I'm so focused on my clients and myself on set. It's very difficult of me to think about promotion.
So it's just an entertainment thing.
Yeah. At this point, that's somebody else's job. I need like a intern that in their early 20s probably that knows the medium, right? I consume the media on it, but I don't know how to produce it.
Okay.
Right. And so actually I don't do video, right? I have a lot of respect for you and people in the video field, because we use the same equipment essentially, but cutting and telling a story through it is a completely different mindset.
Very.
And so while my camera can technically do video, that's not a me.
You don't even touch it.
Well, there's settings.
Yeah.
I don't know them.
You don't know them. Go on TikTok. I'm sure someone's going to tell you.
Your top 5 settings set your camera to video.
Yeah, it's a dangerous space. Everyone's just trying to tell you what to do.
I think, no matter how fun or how much you're on something, I think you have to evaluate whether, because not everything has to be something you apply to your business. Is it something that can benefit your business? If not, enjoy it, right? Whatever it is out there. If you got an idea, work it, be creative. Somebody's going to blow up on it and do incredibly well with it. But that doesn't mean everybody has to. Like me emulating my idols when I started this, not everybody needs to be a teacher. No. Or at least not in the capacity that I saw. Right? Like maybe I will be a teacher, but maybe it won't be literally traveling around giving photography workshops. Maybe it'll be more on the business end of thing. Like I had never conceived of that at the time.
Yeah. You seem like a lot of, I feel like you could guide people pretty well based on that.
I gotta get into mentoring, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Telling people what to do. That's really my thing.
You just want to tell people what to do. Yeah. No, the business side of the creative industry is one that's like not talked about.
I love seeing people succeed.
That's good.
Like I love seeing people succeed around me. And I like helping them get there. Yeah. One way is this insecurity. So that means if I help them, that means they won't fuck me over.
Interesting.
Right.
I mean,
right, guys?
Well, if you put out positivity, and if you put out goodness and you do things for the genuine betterment of other people, it's just it's not going to come back and bite you in the ass.
I mean,
they're going to remember it. And I think that's why you've been able to be in business for 12 years. You seem like someone who genuinely cares about what you do, and you care about helping people achieve the result that they want. And
thank you. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been cool. It's been cool to chat.
I feel really
you.
seen right now. Thank you.
Yeah. You're going to be all over the internet.
I was. I've been on all over the internet.
You will be again in 2023. Not all over.
Back when it was on the Yahoo.
Yeah.
in the Flickr.
Yeah. Flickr's dead, but we'll find a way to post this on Flickr. Is it gone?
No, it's still there. Somebody bought it.
Isn't it
private
Pinterest
equity
now
firm
or something?
No, man. Pinterest is just Pinterest.
See,
Pinterest is a thing that some people like flock to, posted their photos to and whatever. But it became a very inspiration board thing. So there wasn't a lot of, at least none that I've seen, monetary kind of output to. So it just became a very good personal place.
Inspiration.
But yeah, like maybe it's a good tool. Like, like Microsoft Word is a tool. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like I can create a vision board for a client on it, but I'm not you know what I mean? I'm not selling myself globally on it.
Exactly.
Instagram becomes the de facto place for photographers, right? Like,
you need a website though. You should.
Yeah, I have a website, but it's getting pretty scrappy at this point. I need to.
The website's more important because if everyone leaves Instagram, it's an empty vessel.
So, or it's not just leaving Instagram, right? So, because have you ran into people that have had hacked accounts?
Yeah. Well, I've had like sketchy messages come through to me, and
yeah, but think about that. If my Instagram goes down, I can't control it. My entire viewership doesn't even know. I'm erased.
Yeah.
So what do you have left? Your website, right? Something that you at least can still control and post to. The people still have a way of getting to you. What I don't have is, and this is stealing from Liz Plant. So both my girlfriend, but also she's been coaching and business coaching and social media and that kind of stuff. And she learned this, and she was just like, yeah, if you don't control your own mailing list, right? Like you talk to all your customers right now through Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah.
If you don't own that, right? Like on your end, and those things go away, how are you going to talk to your clients?
Where's your business? Yeah. You don't own anything on Instagram. You don't own it. You don't read the terms and conditions. That's not your photo anymore. Yeah,
it's pretty restrictive. But it's also not somebody else's photo. It's Instagram's photo.
It's Instagram's photo.
So one of the funny things I run into, funny, is it's copyright theft is the harsh term for it. But on Instagram, they call it inspiration or resharing, right?
Yeah.
But the funny thing about Instagram is Instagram doesn't allow you to reshare photos to a feed, right? Like if you go to my Instagram right now, and it's not locked down or anything, but if you go to my Instagram, there's nothing that says, oh, I'm going to share this to my feed. You can't. It doesn't do that. Facebook does, right? Facebook lets you share it, and it links back to the original.
You could screenshot it and repost it technically.
Right. So that's and most people don't know this, but that's theft. You're stealing that photo.
Yeah.
You've just taken it. That is not.
It happens in the video space too. Like some people who shoot really cool things, their content gets taken and then repurposed in
audio. I know through TikTok, I know audio gets taken all the time. Real created content gets appropriated by somebody else and then commercialized somewhere else.
There is a whole copyright kind of ethically questionable thing with the whole AI art thing that was happening. Yeah. And people were seeing like photographers' signatures kind of show up blurred in the background. It's because the AI is pulling an image.
AI is pulling stuff from other sources.
Yeah, and it's like, that's theft as well, but a machine did it. So
what are you going to do about it? Kick its ass?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah. So I'm always focused on the commercialization of my work. That's the only copyright that for me ends up being, not worth protecting. It's all worth protecting because it, establishes two things: value for your client, because you're establishing that you've charged something to somebody for something. If somebody else gets to take that for free, right? That's not going to jive, right? No. Why do I have to pay and they don't? Right. So if somebody stealing your photo devalues your work to people you've already sold it to. Secondary, if they're profiting from it, law dictates that you should get a cut of that. Right. They don't get to profit off of your work, even if you've already been paid for it, for free.
No.
Right? I don't get to promote my business with Jay-Z's latest album.
No.
Right? Like I don't get to drop his hit single on top of a trailer for my work scot-free. I'm going to have to pay that guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? And it's a lot of money, and rightfully so. Right? And so there are different levels of music that I can apply to that sort of thing and pay different levels of amount for. And photography is no different. Right? It falls into creative licenses. It's the same as books, writing, art. Right? It deserves to be paid for if somebody else is making money off of it. And so one of the biggest things that I see on Instagram is just people just constantly screenshotting, reposting something. They're treating it like they're doing you a favor.
Yeah. Exposure.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. Thanks.
I'll pay you an exposure.
I've been exposed.
Yeah. You're so exposed.
Yeah. No, I'm
So
working.
people actually will take your photos off your page and reshare them.
Yeah. Or my clients' pages. Right. And that gets convoluted because sometimes the clients like it. They're like, oh, shoot, I got exposed.
Yeah, we got But then what if you're getting re-shared on like a big page with a lot of followers? Is it you don't like it?
I don't see anything from it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
That doesn't drive
let's
anything.
even take money out of the equation.
Yeah.
Even though that's literally what I need to survive to keep creating. This stuff is created out of work, right?
Right.
And even if it wasn't, even if it was like what I was doing in my spare time, I think one of the first things I said when I came on was just talking about like people need to be compensated for their time.
Yeah.
Everything costs money in our world.
Yeah.
And if somebody's going to profit off of that again, that's the key change there. If somebody's profiting off of your work in any capacity, you need to be compensated for that.
Yeah.
And it's decidedly unfair that people think that for some reason they're exempt of that they just get it and you don't get any say in that. No reciprocation.
Yeah. And that's going to be an ongoing challenge as we start to see more digital creators and the space is expanding
and AI
so much,
drawing from it.
Yeah.
It's like what you could do a baseline AI. Hey AI, give me a JVL photo interior. like it doesn't do anything. It just gives you the right, because the AI can do anything, including that.
Yeah,
right.
Gray area. It's going to be an interesting next couple of years. What do you kind of wrap it up with this question? How do you see the future of commercial photography for you and the industry?
I've always been kind of lived on the edge of my seat of will renderings, and in this case even AI, put me out of business, right? Well, because I you can't see the future, but like does the technology of it become better and cheaper than the human element of it?
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, oh, you can never replace humans or something like that. And we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to enjoy it while it's here.
Yeah.
I hope it's here for a while. But I don't know exactly what the future holds. I like to think that we can provide something unique. But history has proven that that's not always the case. And then you just have to kind of roll with the punches and find something else, right? Keep striving for whatever that next thing is. A lot of photographers have pivoted into video. I did not, but I was like, I'm still working on getting a still photo good. Right.
I started photography and I pivoted to video.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Some people do both. Some people move solely to one. And those kind of changes are reactionary to what, right? You wouldn't have pivoted to video if video wasn't an option with cameras at a certain size and cost, right? So like, when the entry level for a video camera was $100,000, you'd probably been like, no, I'm not going to start up with this.
But then it became $800 with a Canon Rebel series.
Do it on your phone.
Yeah, do it on your phone. That's cool. Well, I hope AI doesn't steal your job, because I'd rather talk to you than talk to an AI.
Yeah, a little robot here.
Yeah, maybe you are an
sexy
AI.
robot.
You look very real, man. How did they generate you?
It's like Westworld.
Yeah, that's creepy. Well, Justin, thanks for your time, man. That was
all right.
Great conversation.
Thank you.
It was great to chat with you and learn about your story, your journey, and kind of where you are.
Danced around.
Yeah. No, these conversations have been interesting because I have points where I want to talk about, but they just kind of go wherever they go. And I hope, if you're listening, thank you, first of all, if you're listening, and I hope you've gained some insight. You can check out Justin on the internet. I'll put all his information in the description. Maybe you'll check him out in real life one day if you hire him to do some.
I mean, I go
work.
outside sometimes outside of work.
Just know that if you're out there shooting a sunset, send it to him. If
Yeah.
you shoot a sunset,
Send me your sunsets.
send it to Justin because he wants to see
I'm
it.
either working or experiencing major FOMO.
He wants to see the sunset. But thank you for listening. Again, this has been The Creatives, episode 9. This podcast is proudly supported by 12 Hour Studios. You can book this space and you can copy this exact set if you really want. Don't do it, but you can if you want. I'm not going to stop you. This podcast is also supported by Pano Media. So thank you for that. Thank you to our editor, Mr. Ryan Dennis, for working hard behind the scenes, getting these episodes out in a timely manner. And thank you to you for listening. I hope you're enjoying this podcast. There is a Discord community if you want to just hang out, chat. I always will put the episodes there first.
Oh.
So the Discord community gets exclusive access. It's just a little bit of an incentive to be there.
The Discord drop.
The Discord, the episodes will go there. You'll know who the guests are before you can talk directly with, your host, me, Ramsey, if you'd like, and just build a community because we're all on the journey together. We're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And collaboration over competition, like you said. I mean, not over competition. Competition's still good, but collaboration is also excellent.
No, I'll put it over it.
Over it.
There's a hierarchy.
Cool. Collaboration over competition. We'll end it on that. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.